Oh, hello, my wonderful, beautiful broskies and broskites of the wonderful, beautiful Maverick Nation. I am the Dark, the Shadow of the Maverick, the Dark Shadow Maverick. And this is part, I believe, 4. What if Rainbow Dash was the first ever pony to discover Chackra? In the last part, basically we got everything to do with the whole beast thing done and over with. That's good. But now there have been some changes made to accommodate for the changes that have been introduced because of Chackra. And some things have been even helped, implemented because of the people that Rainbow Dash has around her. Being the 4 Fire Shadows and Madara Uchiha. They're a great help whenever we get to we get to know them. And you guys may be wondering, what else is there to know? Well, first, gotta make sure everyone is fit in order to, take care of the situation, considering the containers of each Biju. Pick a certain day out of the month or each and every other month that you can do this to keep everyone on the up and up. Rainbow Dash basically organizing some stuff for paperwork. The Fire Shadow's kind of feeling bad for her considering she has to do paperwork for this. But Rainbow Dash actually feeling like this could be a good exercise. She's kind of gotten into the motions and now she's just running on adrenaline. And so to her, this more or less seems like an easy task. It's just freaking paperwork. Then the Fire Shadows are just like, oh, we wish we were as nearly as enthusiastic as you, Rainbow, in our time. Because, they hated freaking paperwork. Rainbow just running on a high of adrenaline pumping through her from all the previous events ever since she ate the Chackra fruit. That specific one, which concealed the power of a certain Otsutsuki, which was not like any of the others, because they were actually a good, decent person. And not an asshole, cough cough Momoshiki and Ishiki, and Kinshiki, or a bitch, cough cough Kaguya. And so, yeah, basically, Rainbow going on that adrenaline high from previous days' events. Shinigami King actually wondering how she's still able to do that after fighting several freaking Biju. What is up with this girl? She's like the freaking Uzumaki kid. With all this freaking energy and shit. Like a freaking mad freaking Chad lad shit. Holy shitness. And, well, Rainbow Dash doesn't really seem to mind because she really doesn't care what the Shinigami King thinks about her. And so basically, whenever all the paperwork is filed out, basically, that is whenever the action will be taken. The action of, will every month or every other month check up on the different containers of the different biju. And it's more or less a checkup like making sure they are all like fit to contain the biju. You know, beyond, just the normal standard. Even though Rainbow Dash has faith in her friends, she's not exactly freaking stupid, so she would indeed still do this. Excuse me. And, well, indeed, Rainbow Dash would have first, before anything, told them how exactly that to wield their chakra, and that, if possible, even explain, considering Rarity has, freaking Sweetie Belle to deal with, they're related, and Applejack has freaking Apple Bloom to deal with, they're related. And, Scootaloo idolizes Rainbow, so, you got three situations there where, even if they didn't directly have chakra themselves, you could indeed, if you tried to train them through, the chakra method theory or the chakra theory method or some sort of way like that, you could indeed get it to where they at least knew the basics. Like combination of physical and spiritual energy. And basic stuff. The most basic of the basics. And eventually, the chakra coils would not only start to show up, but, actually get more, into physical form, actual strong chakra coils. Instead of just flimsy little, you know, floating around in the wind chakra coils. Like spaghetti noodle chakra coils. You would actually have, actual strong, sturdy chakra coils over time if you kept on training them in the method. Training, sort of practice acts, you know, over time, more results, more, actual good results would show. I mean, they may not be as good as the Jinchuriki and Rainbow herself, but they will still have actually shown progress. And Rainbow, basically, I've been telling, Rarity and Applejack this before they left, and Rainbow already knowing it herself, so really not needing to have anybody to tell her. Did I become Russian there for a second? Either Russian or German. I mean, I really don't know. Anyways. So, yeah. basically other stuff to, like, basically be involved with, the Biju and just Chakra in general. Basically, sort of like, I guess you could call it the Chakra equivalent of homework. And basically, either every month or every other month, basically to report back to Rainbow to, like, test to see if learned anything useful. And don't exactly think that, ever since they learned about Chakra, that they wouldn't have at least had a smith around to make the appropriate stuff to, like, help. Plus, there's been some knowledge about some sort of Garori Shiki and their plans for, like, recent events. And what I mean by that is, well, basically, Derpy would have been dead if it wasn't for the fact that Dr. Hooves had the three tails inside of him and had actually come up with a pretty good bond. If it wasn't for the fact that actually did indeed have the cloak form already, Derpy would have been killed by Giroshiki and some of his, like, men, like, some of his, like, mans. They just decided to drop by to, like, send a message. Giro Ishiki not exactly wanting to mess with the Three Tails. Well, not exactly at this point, anyways. More or less using this whole experience as a measuring stick to see what exactly they can and can't do as of now. And it's because of this incident, with Derpy Hooves and Giroshiki and his men, and Dr. Hooves and, the Three Tails, the Three Tails actually helping Dr. Hooves defend his wife, make sure she doesn't get killed by Giroshiki and his men, which are also Otsutsukis, just because Giroshiki, Giroshiki, that is also an Otsutsuki. Basically, the Otsutsuki are pissed now, and, have just been using the whole thing that happened not too recently, but not very recently. Basically what happened, around the time that Twilight figured out what Rainbow was doing, or at least somewhat figured out. There was another, Otsutsuki, and he got crushed by the second Heaven Conceal. And yeah, basically trying to get revenge for that. What happened there? Basically, the first actual person who could be considered a threat being Giroshiki, and basically his mooks, I guess you could say. Giroshiki is not just pissed, he is freaking livid AF. He is pissed. Especially because of the fact that his old plan didn't exactly go exactly the way he wanted it to, all the way. Though there were indeed some things that showed to be actually kind of nice that they happened. Now they kind of have a scale on, what Doctor Who's experience with the Three Tails is, and the possibility that there could be more ponies with, other Biju in them. Whoever those ponies are, they don't exactly know, but they at least know now that Dr. Hooves is a container of the Three Tails. And, well, if you don't think that Giro Ishiki and his men, whoever they may be, are going to pull an Akatsuki and try to steal the Biju for themselves, you be stupid. Because Giro Ishiki, he's just not feeling it right now. He's pissed, and he's cranky, and all sorts of things. I just really don't want to mess with. And so, basically, a whole meeting thing, like a whole sort of, not exactly every month, but I forget what it's called, damn it. Oh, every other month. Basically something like a day out of every other month. This happens. Where basically the different containers of the Biju and possibly like relatives that do indeed have chakra because of that, or something similar, have to show up in order to make sure that everyone's still fit for like everything that's been going on. And if not, then they will be taught, even further in ways in which Rainbow Dash thinks will be more, productive instead of counterproductive. Which, considering Applejack has the Five Tails and Kokuo being the Five Tails, has been doing everything in his power to try to be counterproductive, Applejack is actually legit, shit. Oh yeah, memes never die here in the Maverick Nation. Memes never die. That is unless I want them to. But my memes never die. That is unless I want them to. But this one's oldie yet a goodie. And never mind that. Basically, seeing as basically going by number, we'll hit the first tale first. The first tale, the container of Shukaku being Pinkie Pie. And Pinkie Pie, not being stupid, she may be cray-cray, but she's not stupid. She does indeed know about the whole deal with Shukaku. Basically, she knows about the whole deal with the test that pops up once every other month. One day out of every other month. So, if the first test was on March, then March, April, May, the next test would be one day out of May. And then the next test after that, May, June, July. The next test after that would be one day out of July. Of every other month. One day out of every other month. So that's basically how that works. And, well, basically everyone was thoroughly explained that that's how that's going to work. And, well, so a day was indeed picked that, well, no one would really have anything to do all that much. And even if they did have something to do, it wouldn't be that important to where they couldn't do this as well, or just, kind of put that thing onto the side in order to do this, because this actually has a great deal of importance to it. Really great deal of importance. And even the princesses are there, the Alicorn princesses. One of them because they are literally the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, that being Twilight. But the other three, Cadence and Celestia and Luna, Celestia and Luna, duh, like the most important figureheads. And, Cadence because, well, she's also an Alcorn princess. Go figure. So, yeah. Basically, the first test being seeing as Shikaku can, basically what Shikaku gives is magnet release, and the test, basically all the homework that had to be done, like the different Jinchurikis, like, well, it's the different Biju. So those were like different homework pamphlet, like papers. It wasn't just all the same thing. It was like different ones according to whatever Biju you had in you, like whichever you were the Jinchuriki of. And so the one that Pinky got basically explained, that she basically got magnet release from Shukaku, and what exactly magnet release was made out of, and how exactly those things worked. The pieces that make magnet release and how those things worked. The different styles or releases and the hand signs for those different styles or releases, in order to basically do the do. And also, another part of the test being the ability known as the Biju Dama, or Biju Bomb, or Biju Ball, whatever the hell you want to call it. If I'm not calling it Biju Dama, I'm going to call it Biju Bomb, because I really don't like the name Biju Ball. And I have my own reasons for that. It's not that I really don't like it, it's just that I like Biju Bomb or Biju Dama more than I do Biju Ball. And I have my own reasons. So, yeah. Basically, everything was explained in the different pamphlets. Basically, the Shukaku pamphlet explained, Shukaku gives magnet release and the ability to, the Biju Bomb. And, the different levels for, Shukaku's transformation and everything. And, even the fact that in order to get to the final level, you have to use the Play Possum Jutsu. And how that works. And, how the different thing being magnet release, how basically that's made up, what it's basically made up of, and, well, how to mix those two things, and how exactly those things work, and what exactly you have to do in order to make those things. Basically, instructions on how to do what Shikaku allows you to do. And seeing as Pinky is the container, and, I spent some time, seeing as it's every other month, like a day out of every other month, that these tests happen, giving people, ponies enough time to actually, do, studying and, other parts of their lives, but also studying with or without their Biju, so that they'll know this shit already, so that they'll have a better chance of passing the test. And not passing just means you'll have to do more homework in between. And so, yeah, it's probably a good idea that you pass and not pass. So, you don't have to do more homework than you already have. But the homework that they already have is more or less considered studying, basically, for the different, exams, considering the powers that they have because of the Biju that they have. And how some of it pertains to Biju Chakra and some of it pertains to naturally gained normal chakra. Like, how it pertains to one side and how it pertains to another side. Yeah, some of it is that as well. But most of it is just, the Biju stuff in general and how that works. And, well, if you think Pinkie Pie isn't going to be able to do this, like, her and Chikaku are like besties by now. So, like, unlike the whole thing with Chikaku and Gaara, where like Gaara was basically being tortured by Chikaku, while Chikaku was basically making him believe that Chikaku was his mother. Yeah, there's no torturing involved because Chikaku and Pinkie actually, are friends. They actually have a bond, a friendly bond. Because Chikaku likes Pinkie and Pinkie likes Chikaku. They're good friends. And so the whole thing with magnet release, even possibly a Bijudama, who knows? The whole thing with magnet release, basically what happens is, well, Pinkie sees the different equipment, and she sees that there is a scroll that basically has a machine in it that, or more or less not necessarily a machine, that more or less a scroll that if released will shoot out weapons at a certain someone. Basically a weapon scroll. And that it shoots out weapons, basically. A weapon scroll that does that. Ninja weapons. Manufactured for a certain purpose, You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Good. Hopefully, at least some of you do. And basically, Piggy's like, maybe try out that. And basically, the weapons scroll gets released. The ninja weapons get shot out at Pinkie. But Pinkie actually does something like this. And, well, like the different ponies are like, wait, what? And basically what ends up happening is the ninja weapons get stuck in Pinkie, but she doesn't really seem to be hurt. And then a different Pinkie pops from behind that Pinkie, and that Pinkie ends up turning into sand. And the real Pinkie says, sand style, sand clone. Basically, sand style, sand clone. She actually does indeed create a sand style jutsu. Something that is, actually pretty cool. But, Pinkie knows what she's actually here to do, so she was kind of using the sand style sand clone as kind of like extra cred. Because Chikaku actually didn't suggest that they do that. Something to get extra cred. And if you think that Rainbow Dash isn't going to do that, then you guys must not know how I work. She is going to get extra cred for performing that. And how much finesse she performed it with as well. Like, actually, several different creatures in the background thought that she actually had died. When in all reality, it was a sand clone. But now it is time for the actual stuff. 2 different releases. Dogen and the other one being Futon. Because if I remember correctly, magnet release is created by Earth and Wind. So yes, Earth and Wind, Dogen, and Futon. Basically, Pinkie Pie getting the more boring one out of the way. She said it's the more boring one out of the way first. Yes, she literally describes Dogen, Earth style, as being the more boring one. Getting the more boring one out of the way first. Basically, 3 hand signs, and basically she spits out a rock on the ground, and it basically melts into the ground, and something is starting to come up from. Not just one thing, like the rock, whenever it hit the ground, actually started to split into 3 separate rocks. And basically, as the three separate, like, rock things actually start to form into something, Pinky says, Dogen, Earth Clone no Jutsu. Yes, Earth Clone. She creates 3 perfect Earth clones. Or, as Pinky would say, Dogen, Earth Clone no Jutsu. I try to do a Pinkie Pie voice without trying to sound too high-pitched. Yeah, basically that's the Earth part now. And basically, another, like, basically instead of 3 hand signs, this is only 2. Like, and basically this is like, Futon! Great breakthrough! Basically, it's just like a giant ass blast of wind about around the size of the fireball jutsu, but instead of fire, it's wind. That's basically what the Great Breakthrough is. So yeah, basically the Earth Clone Jutsu and the Great Breakthrough Jutsu is the kind of examples of that. And Pinky even goes on and decides to, even without being instructed to, go on and see if she can actually pull off a Bijudama. And you know, she tries, and Shikaku even tries to help her, but she just doesn't seem to have it in her. But she is indeed given the extra cred, which lands her in a passing way. She gets a C++, and that, in Rainbow's eyes, is indeed a passing grade. A C++. And the only reason it's a C++ is because, well, indeed, you know, a perfect 3 Earth clones and a perfect wind breakthrough, you know, great breakthrough, wind style great breakthrough, or Futon great breakthrough. She tried, but she just wasn't able to create a Bijudama. So that does indeed show that she needs some work. And the jutsus that she did were more basic elemental jutsus. You know, the Earth style one was a clone, you know, a Bullshin, and the wind that she did was more or less a wind version of the fireball jutsu. So, you know, basically basic jutsus. You know, only a level above, like, the Academy 3 and the different Shuriken jutsu. So, really, more or less basic elemental jutsus. So yeah, only C++ because of those reasons. Not able to perform a Bijudama and only using basic elemental jutsus. So that's why it's only a C++ grade. But that's still a passing grade in Rainbow Dash's eyes. Just barely a passing grade, but still a passing grade. Like, a C is like the lowest you could get in order to still have a passing grade. But Pinky actually did overachieve a little, so she got a C. Not just a C+, but a C++. Because, like, she could tell that not only her, but even her and her tailed beast, which is unusual for Shikaku, actually were both working to try to help her pass and actually get a good grade. And Pinkie Pie actually getting told that it was just a C++, you know, barely, you know, overachieving a passing grade, a barely passing grade at that, you know. It hurt Rainbow Dash to tell her, but, you know, she had to give her the straight Carfax. She didn't want to lie to her, but at the same time, she didn't want to hurt her feelings. But, you know, Rainbow Dash, at the end of the day, did indeed feel like it was more necessary to, be honest than to have Pinkie Pie go in guns a-blazing, thinking that she was more than she actually was. And basically, Shukaku ends up, telling Pinkie that it is indeed true that that's a better thing than lying to her just to make her feel good. And Pinkie's like, yeah, you're right, Shukaku. It is better that she's honest with me, Rambo's honest with me, than me actually thinking something that isn't true just because she wanted to be nice to me and not hurt my feelings. Yeah, Pinkie does indeed not exactly like the fact that she barely passed, but she does like the fact that she got extra cred and that, well, Rambo actually cared about her enough to do what she did, make the decision that she made. And hey, even though they're basic elemental, they're still elemental jutsus that she pulled off. And, they're both elements that are used to make magnet release. Earth and wind. The 3 earth clones, not just 1, not just 2, basically not 1, not 2, 3 earth clones. But even like the, freaking Futon Great Wind Breakthrough. She did both those and did indeed try her damnedest to make a Bijudama in a field where they wouldn't really be in danger if one was set off. That is something that Rainbow Dash actually tried to go for as well. Like, find a field where nobody would really be in danger if a Bijudama was set off. And, well, the next one to, be tested would indeed be Rarity with her tail beast, Nanatabi. And basically, Rainbow knowing that Nanatabi's basically, only thing it's really famous for is, like, added, advances in fire style, or also known as cotton. And, well, considering, what's been said, hearsay, they don't exactly get along all that well. Rarity and her tail beast, Nanatabi. So Rarity doesn't exactly, not Rarity, but Rainbow doesn't exactly know if she wants to look forward to it or if she is not really sure. But Rainbow Dash does indeed, try to keep her hopes up for whatever Rarity has in store. And, well, what is indeed shown is no, wait. Basically, instead of having, like, one of the scrolls that had weapons in it, basically finding some scrolls that have some certain markings on them, and basically taking those scrolls out and, poofing the scrolls. And basically, the scrolls would have had dummies in them, and would have lined up the dummies, Rarity would have, and basically they would be in perfect synchronization with each other, like in a perfect line. And, perfect space in between each one. One dummy in the middle, and 2 dummies off to the side, a good distance from each other. And the one in the middle. And Rainbow wondering what this is exactly for. Still thinking about the whole Nanatabi thing. And that's whenever she would also realize Holy shit. Like, is that a shuriken pouch? Or are my eyes tricking me? Rarity has a shuriken pouch. Holy shit. What the hell is Rarity doing? Basically, Rarity would just jump up in the ground and she would start twirling. And basically, she would throw out like the freaking 9 different shuriken. 3 at the middle target, 3 at. Actually, it would be 6 different shuriken. Basically, 3 at the target to the left and 3 at the target to the right. And would just exclaim, Katen, sure. Basically, Katen, Shuriken of Flame no Jutsu. Basically, like. Basically, the shurikens would have just been set on fire. And, whenever they would hit the different, like, dummies, they would explode in a big giant fireball that would just light up the area. Like this pretty fire. Like, the fire's pretty. And Rainbow Dash would be like, holy shit! Like, when did this happen? And then Rarity would be like, ahem, there's still one more. And then she would just be like 5 hand signs. And then we'll just be like, one more, that's a total of 6 hand signs. No, 2 more, that's a total of 8 hand signs. No, that's a total of 12 hand signs. Why are there like 12? Like, holy shit. And basically, like, several copies of Rainbow would just pop out of nowhere after just hearing Kagebushin. It's basically, you just hear Kagebushin, like, from Rarity, like the Rarity in the middle, and then, like, freaking 11 other Rarities would just pop out, and they'd all, like, jump up in the air and dive down towards the middle target, and automatically, whenever they all hit, boom! And you would just hear Rarity say, explosive release version. And, Rainbow Dash would just... This may not be something that Nagatabi usually gives someone, but Rainbow Dash doesn't even give a shit. Like, Rarity learned this on her own. Freaking explosion release. She learned that she literally tells Rainbow that she actually figured out through this method, like chakra paper method, that she figured out about, like after some time, like studying. She actually figured out about this, like, chakra paper method, and through the chakra paper method and figuring out what exactly the different responses were, and like what exactly they meant the person to have. And basically, I believe Earth and Lightning is explosion release. Because Earth and Fire is like either magma or lava. So like Earth and Lightning would be explosion. She basically figured out that she had a major affinity for lightning and a minor affinity for Earth. And after training both, like non-stop, like each and every day, for quite some time, she actually managed to get on that explosion release deal. And even started training that non-stop. And, well, actually, after Naratabi realized all this devotion, started to actually, help Rarity by helping, like, like, doing what a tailed bee should do, help their container. And even, like, gave Rarity some lesson, like, basically not really giving their lessons themselves, but, like, coordinates to places where she could find, certain, you know, like, ways of taijutsu. More or less, since there's no scrolls, really, unless you would actually want to rob Rainbow in her own home, which that would be not a good idea. That would be a totally not good idea at all. So basically, Narutabi would have just figured out that probably would just be a good idea to teach her themselves. So yeah, not only does Rarity have a good amount of fire, but she also has natural affinity for... She basically has 3 different natural affinities: fire, earth, and lightning. And she mainly focuses on all 3, but focuses on fusing earth and lightning. She uniquely works on fire all her own, but she, when considering earth and lightning, not really works on them like differently. She works on them like in the terms of fusing in order to create explosion release. And the only other thing being a superb level of taijutsu and even kenjutsu at some point. But that's only if you were actually able to trust her with a sword. And then we got like 3, which is Doctor Who's himself, the 3 Tails. And, that really isn't needed to be proved, because he already proved his ability with the 3 Tails whenever, that certain person came to ruin their party. So 4 Tails. Who has the 4 Tails? I believe that would be Vinyl Scratch who has the 4 Tails. Vinyl Scratch's whole deal. Vinyl Scratch is cool with Son Goku, and after a while they kind of learn to be chill with each other. And basically, yeah. They did their whole thing, and they were good. So, no real problems with them. And then we would come up to the 5 Tails, that being Applejack. The only real problem Applejack has is, well, her kind of self-esteem whenever it comes to actually using boil release. The steam that comes off of the boil release. It's always kind of like a worrywart thing because of the fact where she lives and not exactly wanting to hurt the plants. She doesn't exactly know, like, the full technicality of whether the actual, like, steam off the boil release would hurt them or not, because she's too worried on if it would. She's like a complete and total worrywart about the power that Kokuo gives her. So, yeah, that's just a disaster and a half. Like, Rainbow Dash actually has to get on her in order for her to actually use her power. And even then, it's kind of dodgy. So she barely passes with an even lesser grade than that of Pinkie Pie, only getting a C+ instead of a C++. But, freaking Rainbow Dash understands. It's kind of like really dodgy subject with the fact of, not wanting to destroy the entire farm with people, more or less ponies, like Filthy Rich around. And when more or less, the more, like, Filthy Rich is brought up, the more Kokuo actually starts to pay attention to what's being said. And over time, Kokuo has actually started to grow their own hatred towards Filthy Rich. And actually, kind of brought on to, like, help Apples help Applejack if it means it gets to destroy Filthy Rich, or at least hurt him in some way. Find a way to make him suffer. Because, all this negativity bullshit because of what this guy does. Cookwell doesn't exactly like Filthy Rich any more than any of, the Apple family does. Applejack, Apple Bloom, Big Macintosh, Granny Smith. Cookwell seems to have the same amount of disdain, if not even more. If that's even possible. And, the Six Tails is indeed Fluttershy, and Fluttershy, she's too innocent to want to hurt anybody, so she's just giving a passing grade regardless. And, yeah, that's until, Fluttershy is just like, no, I have to do this. And Psyken is like, oh, it seems that there is indeed some hope for you after all. Psyken, we need to work together if this is going to work. And Psyken is like, oh, that jutsu. Well, indeed, we are known to have a natural affinity for water. And, Fluttershy is like, indeed. Just ends up doing a total of 6 hand signs. And Rainbow is like, it looked like they were originally only going to go through 3, but now it went all the way to 6. What jutsu would they need to have 6 hand signs for? Basically, Fluttershy would just say, watch out, you guys! And it would just be like, Sweden! Water Vortex Jutsu! And, a total of Water Vortex Jutsu. And it would just all drain down into the earth. And, Rainbow Dash would be like, hoofs up, thumbs up, but it would be hoofs up. That was freaking awesome. And then it would be Cheryl Lee with the Seven Tails Chome. And, well, Cheryl Lee would basically be the only real thing that me and Chome are good at, really, is flying and, some, semi-expertise in advanced taijutsu. But that's neither here nor there as of the moment, because, this was kind of last second, considering, my usual job as a teacher. And Rainbow Dash can understand because, they had lives before this, and this is kind of something that just came out of nowhere. So Rainbow Dash can understand. And so then it would come with Flash Sentry, and, Flash Sentry having 8 tails. Basically seeing as every single container, the 8 tails is ever known to have, has been a Kumo Ninja. It's pretty much safely, assumed that the 8 tails is, main affinity that it grants is that of lightning release, Raiton. And, well, basically, total of 6 hand signs as well. And then it goes into 7. And basically, this would be basically, Flash Sentry goes in to say, Raiton, lightning, crash down. And whoosh, lightning, crash down, wave. And the entire area will just be covered in what feels like a bunch of tasers shocking every pony. And it would just be a big a whole entire landmine's worth of lightning chakra. Instead of like all the other Biju containers that kind of are immune to this. And yeah, that would basically be a thing. And also, Flash Sentry would want to explain that the only reason he isn't using a tailed beast bomb, even though because of some training he knows he can do it, is because he wanted to give Twilight the spotlight. Wanted to see how it would be, doing this under pressure, basically. As much pressure as can be given, while still not seeming like you're being a total dick. Anyways, Twilight would just be like, mana phase are fire and wind. So the first jutsu's done is, well, and to be like, fire style, great fireball jutsu. Yes, great fireball jutsu. And it would be humongous. Yeah, Twilight's known about this for quite some time, about this whole test. And basically the next thing that happens, just bring her hands up like this. Futon, wind strike. And then there will just be a giant, freaking windstorm that would just come crashing through the area. Like one of Tamari's fan attacks. And then right after all of that was settled, there would indeed just be like, Applejack would just run over there and, bunk right straight into the ground, popping up a big old wall, or more or less big old landmass, for Twilight to hit, something for Twilight to hit. And Twilight would just start to bubble up to the surface, and she would start to glow red, and change her form as to where several tails would appear, and then she would start to expand and then go lower into the ground as it began to crack underneath her. And finally, she would just open up and be like, say ah, yeah, Biju Dama, ladies and gents. That entire whole landmass area would be gonzo. And, Rainbow Dash would just be like, give this lady a round of applause. Perfect A+++. But Rainbow kind of figured that's what would happen, considering she's the container of the Nine Tails. And basically, she only went to 4 tails in order to do that. And basically, Rainbow would just speed over there with Body Flicker and put a Chackra suppression seal in order to get Twilight out of that Nine Tails Chackra funk. And then just rip the seal off, and Twilight would just be like, bleh. And Twilight would be like, oh, I went overboard, didn't I? Well, I went overboard again, didn't I? And, Flash Sentry would just be like, oh, I'm no better with it either. I didn't want to, go overboard myself. I didn't know if anybody would be able to help. But then again, remembering you probably would have something to help with that. And, Rampardash would be waving around the chakra suppression seal and just be like, oh, yeah, sorry I didn't tell you guys about these. But it's kind of important just so that nothing crazy, like too crazy, happens. And, Princess Celestia and Luda and even Cadence are just like blown away, and Spike is like, so cool. And, the insanity of it all, it would just be cray cray. But now, beyond that even, oh boy. Now that they know that, they have a public enemy number one, another member of the Otsutsuki, and he has, mook friends. But due to some recent news, that they've been getting, he may even have other friends that aren't as weak as, the occasional mooks. Other members of the Otsutsuki clan that are sort of like his friends, like, it's kind of like the Akatsuki. Like, oh, you thought this was bad? Oh, you have just hit the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, let's just say the Otsutsuki aren't too happy. And so, yeah. It's a good thing that we have, um, you know, not exactly been stagnant, and, because of that, there are more and more ponies every day that are actually starting to learn the methods of chakra, so that they'll be able to defend themselves whenever it comes, like, raining Otsutsuki, like, a total, like, violent thrashdown, or whatever plans that they have. And so, yeah. Knowing that there are more Otsutsuki when they thought there were, and that they're not exactly nice either, this is just a total 180 degrees, total, like, holy shit moment. Like, yeah. The Otsutsuki aren't exactly messing around. This is the starting of a new era. An era of pony and other creature of this world versus the Otsutsuki. Or at least the members of the Otsutsuki that are left. And possible new members in the future, should whatever happens, happens. So yes, you could indeed say that, not exactly like George R.R. Martin, no, winter isn't coming. You could indeed say war is coming. And oh, what a war it's going to be. I can't wait to find out. And something about all this tells me you guys can't wait either. Just saying. You never know. Just gonna have to wait to find out. Doses.